Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So if you're watching this video, then it's probably because you're interested in sketching daily, or at least you want to start sketching more frequently. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to be doing a little sketch in my sketchbook, and I'm going to talk about sketching daily, sketching frequently, because I have recently started doing this, and this is one of the first times in my life that I've ever sketched this much, and it's been so amazing that I really want to share it with you guys and maybe help some tips for others that have never been able to sketch daily or regularly, because that was me. Like, I never sketched ever. I would sketch like every now and then, maybe once or twice a week. Before I jump into that though, I do want to take just a quick second to thank the sponsor of this video. The sponsor of this video is Skillshare. So I'm sure that you have heard about Skillshare before, but if you haven't, I just want to share some real quick information on what Skillshare is. So Skillshare is an online learning platform, and there are a bunch of really cool classes on there. A lot of them are creative. There's so many on watercolor, digital painting, sketching, drawing, lettering. There's stuff on marketing. It's really, really cool. I use Skillshare myself. I have mentioned it in the past, but I actually used it to learn a lot of my animation skills in Adobe After Effects. And I've also used it a lot to help my brush lettering, because brush lettering is not something that comes easily to me. So if you are interested in Skillshare, you think it might be helpful, or you think it might be just the thing that you need to boost your creativity so that you can sketch daily, well, make sure you check it out. I will have a link down in the description box below. It is super affordable if you get the year subscription, but if that's something that you can't do right now, Skillshare is going to be offering a free 2-month trial to the first 500 people that click the link in the description box. So if you really want to try it out, then that is the perfect time and opportunity to. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. And now let's talk some more about sketching daily. I think sketching daily, or sketching regularly at least, is really, really important. Not only does it keep your technical skills up, but it really helps keep your creativity up. And I had never really realized that in the past. I had always just thought sketching is just really important for practicing. Like, I never really thought of sketching as a way to keep up my creativity and keep that creative ball rolling. And I wanted to change my mindset about that. So I started sketching more frequently when I went to Europe recently. I went on a short 8-day trip to Amsterdam and Italy, and right before I went on the trip, I broke my phone. I smashed it, totally smashed it, and it worked, but I couldn't go on it for more than 2 or 3 minutes before the whole screen went green. So I couldn't really use my phone at all. I couldn't even really take many photos because I couldn't really see that much of what I was taking a photo of. So what ended up happening was, every time I tried to go on my phone and just like kill time on Facebook or social media, it would quit after like 2 minutes, and I really had nothing else to do. So I started sketching way more. We had wanted to sketch on this trip, but I found myself sketching just because I was bored and because I had nothing else to do. And it had been a really long time since I'd felt that, because, you know, like back when I was in high school and I was sketching a lot in school, it was because I was bored and I didn't have anything else to do. And then cell phones became a thing, and that was always how I entertained myself, was just looking at my phone. And it's like I forgot that sketching is just a fun thing to do when you're bored. And that's kind of how I started sketching. And I tried to keep that mindset when I came back. And I really wanted to keep up with it and to sketch more and more and more. So one of the things I was also doing was I started taking advantage and like having sketching time. So I have a meeting once a week, and it helps me to sketch during like meetings because I can listen better, and it helps keep my hands busy so I'm not fidgeting all the time. So I started kind of sketching in my meetings, just doodling and things like that. And that plus the Europe thing, it just really made me be like, I need to do this more. You know, I was feeling really creative and really inspired, and my sketchbook became a place not just to practice my technical skills, but also to try new techniques, to try new ideas, to play around with things that might turn out really, really ugly. So I had to do a lot of things to keep up with it. So practically, one of the first things that I did was I decided to make it a habit that I was going to track. So in my bullet journal, I have a tracker, and I track sketching. So I try to do at least like one sketch daily like if it's just one sketch, that's fine, you know? So I've been tracking that to try to keep myself sketching daily. But the biggest thing that I had to change was my mindset. So I think that sketching is kind of one of those things that when you get the ball rolling, it becomes a lot easier to continue sketching. It's kind of like if you have a friend and you text them all the time and you hang out with them all the time, you remember to invite them to things and to do things with them and to text them. But if you have a friend that you love just as much, but you don't talk to them as often, it becomes harder to remember to do that because they're not so present in your mind. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've definitely had that situation happen with friends before on both of our ends. And I think this is a very similar situation. The more you sketch, the more creativity you're going to have, the more ideas you're going to be expressing, and then the more ideas you get. And the more that sketching is something that you remember to do because it's right there at the front of your brain. The other thing that I really had to do in terms of changing my mindset was changing the way I looked at my sketchbook just as a whole, because in the age of social media, sketchbooks have become something very different from what they used to be. Sketchbooks are things to show off, they're things to look at, and it's almost like every page has to be a quote unquote spread, you know? It has to be thought out and perfect and finished pieces that kind of go with each other. And even if it's a sketch, you want it to, I don't know, like I just feel like I see so much perfection in sketchbooks nowadays, and I see much less messiness and just like bad drawings and things like that. And I had to be like, it's fine to make bad art and it's fine to draw on the sketchbook. I have a big thing about being precious with my pages where I just want to protect them and only do beautiful art on them. And I've talked about this before in some of my other videos, but like changing that mindset is so difficult. But I just had to be like, you know what, when the sketchbook is out, I'll buy another. Like, it's fine. Like, I can finish this sketchbook. I have a million sketchbooks. So I just had to be like, just draw. Just draw. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about the paper. Don't worry about how much you're using. Don't worry about if it comes out bad. If it comes out bad, just move on. So I just kind of like tried to really change my mindset around what a sketchbook was supposed to be. And I changed it from a sketchbook is supposed to be a place to show off smaller works to a sketchbook is supposed to be a place to really experiment and try new things, even if those things don't work out the way that you want them to. And I've really seen a lot of positive changes since I started doing this. I have found myself, like I said, just so much more creative. I have really been noticing that my eye is starting to change. I've been looking at people and other artworks in a more analytical way and trying to figure out how they do the things that I want to be able to accomplish. I've been looking at my own art in a more analytical way as well, and I've been really trying to improve certain areas and figure out the areas that are my weakest points, the areas that are my strengths, and all of that kind of jazz. And it's been so great to be able to really just experiment with all these different styles and kind of figure out the direction that I want to go in. And it's been a really great place for me to refine what I'm doing and my style without necessarily having to show that entire process to the world. Because it can be really scary when you're trying to change things up or when you're trying new things, because if it fails, you maybe don't want to show that to other people. But by giving myself permission to fail in the sketchbook, it wasn't as big of a deal to try all these different ideas and concepts, even if they don't work out. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I just think it's really, really important to sketch more. And if you're not sketching daily, I hope that some of those things help you kind of like changing your mindset, not being as precious about pages, being allowed to fail. Like I said, tracking is really, really helpful for me. The other things that have been helpful for me on a more practical level have been carrying my sketchbook with me pretty much everywhere. I keep it now in the same traveler's journal as my bullet journal, so everything is together in one notebook, which is really, really helpful. When I first started sketching a little more frequently, I was using really cheap notebooks and sketchbooks that I'd made myself that had a lot less pages in them, because that was a lot less intimidating. So maybe go and get a different sketchbook, one that is maybe a little cheaper, or one that you make, or one that's just less intimidating. because, you know, it can be hard. It really can be. Journal Company Sketchbook, not the watercolor one, although I do have that. I just use their regular travel journals, and I love them so much. I've mentioned them like a million times. They're not sponsored. This isn't sponsored. I wish they would sponsor me. That'd be great. I just love their notebooks, like journals. They're so good. They take watercolor really quite well. I mean, it's not watercolor paper, but they take it really well. They take ink and sketching really well. The only thing that they struggle with somewhat is markers. And even then, I've used markers in here before. So for me, finding a sketchbook that I could use a lot of mixed media in was really important. If you only sketch in graphite and pen and ink, then you might want a really smooth notebook. If you only use watercolor, then a dedicated watercolor sketchbook is gonna be great for you. But make sure that you're tailoring your sketchbook to the things that are going to make it easiest for you to actually sketch in, if that makes sense. Along with that, tailor your travel supplies. What you're going to sketch with is not necessarily the same thing that you're going to use all the time at home and on your big art. So figure out what supplies work really well for you on the go and bring those. Don't just bring what you normally use in your regular studio. I found that I work a lot more with markers and pencil when I sketch than ever when I'm making my actual like final finished art. So that was a little disorganized, but those are a bunch of tips that I have found, things that I've picked up, things that have helped me. Sketching daily is great. I've been loving it, and I hope that it's something that you guys can get into as well. I really do think it's so beneficial if you are an artist to sketch daily. It's something that I do highly, highly recommend. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys liked this painting sketch, by the way. I really liked this technique of putting down graphite and then watercolor on top, and I'm gonna use it a lot more. So I'm super excited. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out when you guys do that. Leave a comment down below if you sketch daily, or if you don't, I wanna hear about it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Bye guys.